The stars had never seemed so cold. From the farthest edge of the galaxy, the signal arrived, a broadcast that shook every listening world. It was not a message of diplomacy or hope. It was a broadcast of suffering, a twisted display of humanity's pain. Every screen, every receiver, from the smallest colony ship to the grandest council stations, replayed it endlessly. Screams, fear, chaos. They wanted the galaxy to see humanity broken, helpless, begging. No one could understand why. Why would anyone care to display such horrors? The aliens, the ones who called themselves the Zarati, had a reputation for cruelty, but even seasoned commanders and diplomats felt a chill at what they saw. They had expected rebellion, conquest, or even surrender, but this was different. This was personal. On Earth, the leaders watched in stunned silence. The broadcasts arrived without warning, showing colonies on the edge of known space being overrun. Star systems lost in hours, entire fleets disintegrated in the blink of an eye, and the victims' faces staring back, terrified, pleading for help that never came. Families ripped apart, cities burned, and the Zarati's voice, calm, proud, unyielding, commented on every scene like a performance. Admiral Kiara Malik, seated in the command center of the Earth Defense Fleet, clenched her fists until her knuckles cracked. Her eyes burned, but she did not look away. Around her, the officers murmured and shifted nervously, but she did not allow fear to take her. "They think we are weak," she said quietly, more to herself than to anyone else. "They think showing the galaxy our suffering will make us surrender. They are wrong." Earth scientists worked frantically to trace the broadcast's origin, but the signals were masked, distorted, and relayed through countless systems. Every attempt to locate the source only led to dead ends, fake coordinates, and traps. And then, as if the universe itself were mocking them, the broadcasts showed Earth itself. Cities burning, civilians screaming, fleets falling from orbit, leaders being captured. The broadcasts were a warning, a demonstration that no matter how far humanity reached, no one could hide. But Admiral Malik did not falter. She had spent her entire life preparing for moments like this. Humanity had always been underestimated, written off by species far older, far larger, far more advanced. But humans had a stubbornness that could not be measured in technology or numbers. Humans adapted. Humans survived. And humans could take revenge. In a hidden bunker beneath the surface of Earth, the Defense Council met with Malik. They discussed fleets, weapons, and strategies, but Malik had a plan that no one had dared consider. "We will not fight to survive," she said. "We will fight to erase them. Every system, every fleet, every trace of their arrogance will vanish." Her voice was steady, but behind it was a fire that none present had ever felt before. It was not just anger, it was a promise. The first step was to send a message back, not words, not pleas, not surrender. Humanity sent its own broadcast, one that no one had expected. Instead of fear, it carried determination. Instead of weakness, it carried strength. Every signal carried the unmistakable tone, "We are not defeated." Across the galaxy, sensors picked up the anomaly. Planets and fleets paused. Even the Zarati were confused. Meanwhile, deep in space, Earth's fleets assembled in silence. Starships that had been hidden, ships designed for speed, stealth, and firepower, now converged on the known Zarati territories. Every commander knew the risk. Every officer understood the stakes. But there was no hesitation. Humanity had been mocked, humiliated, and shown as weak. Now, it was time to rewrite that story. The broadcasts continued to play, but now they carried a different weight. Where there was once fear, there was now anticipation. Where there was terror, there was now something else, something the Zarati could not understand, humanity's calm fury. Earth had sent its message in silence and preparation, and now the galaxy would see it in action. On the bridge of her flagship, Admiral Malik watched the stars ahead. She did not speak to anyone. She did not need to. The crew knew what was coming. They had trained for this. They had dreamed of this. Humanity's revenge would not be subtle. It would not be polite. It would be total. And it would begin with the very ones who thought they could humiliate Earth with their broadcasts. Somewhere in the dark void, the Zerati fleets waited, unaware of the storm coming their way. They thought they had victory already. They thought they had taught humanity a lesson. But as the first human warships slipped through the void, cloaked and silent, heading straight for their systems, the galaxy itself seemed to hold its breath. Humanity had suffered, and the galaxy had watched. Now, humanity would act, and the suffering of one race, the one that thought it was untouchable, would become a legend whispered across the stars. No mercy. No hesitation. And the Zerati would learn the truth too late. Never underestimate humanity. The first strike was about to begin. The Zerati fleets had grown careless. They believed the broadcasts alone had broken humanity's spirit. They watched Earth, thinking it powerless, unarmed, weak. But they did not see the fleet that had gathered in the shadows, hidden between the stars, invisible to even their most advanced scanners. On the bridge of the human flagship Vigilant, Admiral Malik stared at the dark expanse ahead. Her crew moved with quiet precision, fingers dancing over control panels, eyes fixed on screens displaying countless enemy systems. "They will see us coming," she said softly. "But it will already be too late." At the edge of the Zerati's outer defense, sensors finally picked up anomalies. Small blips, almost insignificant, moved like shadows among the stars. The Zerati commanders hesitated, exchanging nervous glances. Their leaders had boasted of Earth's defeat in front of the entire galaxy, and now strange ships appeared where none should have been. Lieutenant Rian, Malik's tactical officer, broke the silence. "Admiral, they've detected us. Multiple fleets are mobilizing." Malik nodded. "Good. Let them prepare. They will fight bravely for a few minutes. And then they will understand why they should have left humanity alone." The first engagement was brutal and sudden. Human warships struck with precision, bypassing front-line defenses that the Zerati relied on so heavily. Entire squadrons vanished before their weapons could even fire. The shockwave of humanity's power spread across the systems like fire through dry grass. The Zerati broadcast control stations tried to maintain composure, continuing to stream fear and chaos. But the screens were now filled with their own fleets exploding in brilliant bursts of light. Panic replaced pride in their ranks, and the calm arrogance of their leaders crumbled. On the human ships, the crew watched the destruction with grim determination. No cheers, no celebration. This was war, and every strike carried the weight of the suffering that had been inflicted upon humanity. The humans were not fighting for conquest or glory. They were fighting to erase the arrogance of a race that had humiliated them. Miles away, in one of the Zerati command hubs, General Vexer slammed his clawed hand against the console. "What is happening? How can they appear here, now? This is impossible." Impossible had become the human way. Malik's fleet moved faster than expected, bypassing the Zerati defenses completely. They struck at command centers, communication hubs, and orbital stations. In minutes, entire planets were liberated from Zerati occupation, not by diplomacy, but by overwhelming, calculated force. Humanity's vengeance was precise, surgical, and terrifying. Lieutenant Rian glanced at the Admiral, eyes wide. "Admiral, they're trying to flee. Entire fleets are jumping out." Malik's lips curled in the faintest smile. "Let them go. The galaxy will know what they feared the most. Those who survive will carry the story." Meanwhile, deep in the void, a single human stealth ship moved ahead of the fleet. Its mission was simple but deadly: plant the signal disruptors at key Zerati systems, cutting off their communication. Without coordination, the Zerati could not regroup, could not call reinforcements. And without their broadcasts, the terror they had used to control others now became meaningless. As the disruptors activated, the Zerati fleets panicked. Ships collided in the darkness, weapons fired blindly at shadows. Their carefully constructed empire of fear began to crumble in minutes. The humans did not celebrate. They pressed forward relentlessly, leaving no room for doubt, no time for the enemy to recover. Back on Earth, millions watched in silence. The broadcasts of their own suffering had been horrifying. Now, the news was different. Humanity's fleets were not just defending, they were striking back with unstoppable power. Cities on Earth cheered quietly, not because they expected victory to be easy, but because they knew, finally, their suffering had a purpose. The Zarati commanders tried to adapt, but every attempt failed. The humans anticipated their moves, countered their strategies, and exploited every weakness. Every hour brought new destruction to Zarati fleets, and every victory added weight to the legend of humanity's wrath. By the time the first human fleet returned to Earth, the Zarati had suffered more than they could imagine. Entire sectors were lost, key leaders captured, and their empire's reputation shattered. Across the galaxy, whispers began: never underestimate humanity. Never mock their suffering. Never broadcast it to the stars. Admiral Malik looked out from the bridge of her flagship, her face calm, her eyes reflecting the stars. She did not celebrate. She did not boast. The humans had begun their revenge, but the war was far from over. Somewhere in the darkness, more Zarati waited, thinking they could still challenge humanity. They would soon learn that no amount of cruelty, no number of broadcasts, and no empire could withstand the fury of a people who had been humiliated, and who had finally risen. As the stars stretched out before her, Malik whispered to herself, "This is only the beginning." The galaxy had started to whisper. The Zarati, once feared as unstoppable, were now in retreat. But the humans did not stop. They moved like a storm across the stars, their warships cutting through enemy defenses with terrifying precision. Every world they approached, every fleet they engaged, the message was clear: humanity had risen, and no one would underestimate them again. On the bridge of the Vigilant, Admiral Malik studied the tactical display. Red blips indicated Zarati positions. Blue represented human forces. The map seemed almost too simple. The Zarati had spread themselves too thin, believing no human could reach them so fast, so silently. Malik's hand hovered over the command console. "We hit the supply lines next," she ordered. "Cut off everything. They cannot fight if they have nothing to feed their machines and fleets." Lieutenant Rian nodded. "Sir, the outer colonies, they're responding. Civilians and soldiers are organizing resistance. It's almost like they were waiting for this moment." Malik allowed herself a faint smile. They were. Humanity never forgets. Even the smallest spark can ignite a fire. Meanwhile, on a Zarati stronghold orbiting the industrial planet Serene, Commander Vrax stared at the view screen in disbelief. Reports flooded in, supply convoys destroyed, orbital defenses wiped out, entire fleets vanished. "How can this be?" Vrax growled. They're perfect. They know everything we planned." "Perfect," thought Malik. Not because humans were flawless, but because they had learned, adapted, and refused to surrender. Every strike carried the lessons of centuries, the memory of suffering, and the promise of revenge. The humans did not allow the Zarati to recover. Stealth teams infiltrated key stations, disabling weapons before the enemy could fire. Tactical strikes shattered orbital rings around major planets, creating chaos that left the Zarati scrambling. Each attack was precise, almost surgical, minimizing unnecessary loss of human life but maximizing fear in the enemy ranks. Yet, for all their victories, humans remained cautious. Malik knew the Zarati would regroup, would attempt something unpredictable. They were arrogant, yes, but also clever. And clever enemies could be deadly if underestimated. The next operation targeted the Zarati capital system, an entire star cluster governed by a network of orbital fortresses, command centers, and fleets. The humans approached silently, using techniques long studied but rarely applied. Sensor ghosts, cloaked jump points, and decoy transmissions misled the Zarati defenses, making the fleet seem smaller, weaker, and scattered. Inside the capital system, panic erupted. Zarati fleets scrambled as alarms blared across multiple planets. "They're here!" shouted one commander. "How did they reach the inner systems?" "Impossible." It was not impossible. It was human determination. Malik's flagship led the first strike. Energy beams cut through shielded cruisers, tearing them apart with precision. Explosions lit the void like deadly fireworks, signaling the arrival of a force the Zerati had thought broken. Behind her, the fleet followed, each ship attacking with calculated precision. No hesitation. No mercy. Humanity's vengeance was absolute. Meanwhile, across the outer colonies, human forces liberated captured worlds. Civilians who had cowered in fear now stood alongside soldiers, guiding fleets through dangerous space lanes, providing intelligence that only those who had suffered firsthand could give. Humanity's unity was their greatest weapon. Every act of resistance, every story of survival, became part of the strategy that dismantled the Zerati Empire planet by planet. As the battle for the capital system reached its peak, Malik made her move. A single fleet, hidden for weeks, jumped behind enemy lines. It was a gamble. The fleet risked annihilation if discovered, but the payoff was immense. The flagship carried a payload designed to disable the Zerati Central Command, a device that would sever communications across the entire cluster. The strike was flawless. Zerati leaders screamed as their systems failed, fleets became blind, and panic overtook their perfectly orchestrated defense. Humans pressed the advantage without hesitation, moving through the system like a tide of unstoppable fire. In the chaos, Vrax realized the truth too late. Humans had not only adapted, they had evolved. Every move the Zerati had predicted, every trap they had laid, every advantage they had assumed was theirs, had been anticipated, countered, and destroyed. The pride of an empire collapsed before the fury of a species they thought broken. Admiral Malik, standing at the bridge, watched the last Zerati capital cruiser explode. She did not cheer. She did not celebrate. Victory was not yet complete, but the message had been sent. The galaxy now understood that humanity's suffering had forged them into a weapon stronger than any fleet, sharper than any blade. And somewhere in the shadowed void, the surviving Zerati fleets trembled, uncertain, powerless, knowing that humanity would not stop until the lesson was fully learned. Never humiliate, never underestimate, and never broadcast human suffering to the stars. Malik whispered to herself, as she always did before the next battle. We are just beginning. They will remember this day. Forever. The Zerati had fallen into chaos. Entire sectors of their empire had been erased in days, and the survivors were scattered, desperate, and terrified. But desperation made them dangerous. Admiral Malik knew this. She did not underestimate the enemy. She had learned from every battle. Arrogance could be deadly, and survival instinct could sharpen even the weakest. On the bridge of the Vigilant, Malik reviewed reports from every corner of the galaxy. Zerati fleets were regrouping in hidden sectors, their leaders trying to form alliances, trying to find a way to counter humanity's precision. But the humans had learned their patterns. Every hiding spot, every safe route, every weak point in the Zerati network had been mapped, studied, and exploited. Admiral, Lieutenant Rian said, pointing at the main display. There's something strange. A fleet. No, a shadow fleet. It's moving fast, but it's unlike anything we've seen. Cloaked, advanced technology, we've never encountered this before. Malik narrowed her eyes. They're hiding something. Prepare the fleet. This could be their final stand, or a trap. Either way, we face it head-on. The humans approached the coordinates carefully. The shadow fleet emerged suddenly, materializing from the dark void. These were no ordinary Zerati ships. They were massive, heavily armed, and unlike any vessel the humans had encountered. The sheer scale of them was intimidating. Their weapons glowed ominously, casting red reflections on the hulls of nearby human ships. Vrax, now desperate and hiding among the remaining fleets, recognized the vessels immediately. The Obsidian Guard, he whispered. Impossible. They were thought extinct. Only legends remain. Malik did not flinch. Legends or not, humans did not fear. All units, engage Formation Delta. Target the lead ships first. We strike together, precise and fast. No hesitation. No mercy. The battle began with a deafening roar across the void. Energy beams cut through darkness, tearing apart ships in brilliant flashes. The Obsidian Guard struck back, their firepower immense, but the humans moved with speed, coordination, and cunning that even the legends could not anticipate. Human ships darted between enemy fire, striking vulnerable points that no Zerati had ever defended. Cloaked frigates slipped past massive cruisers, planting micro-warheads that tore hulls apart from the inside. Every strike was calculated, every movement designed to confuse and overwhelm the enemy. The Zerati screamed through broken communications, trying to organize resistance. "They cannot do this," shouted Vrax, voice shaking with disbelief. "They are not supposed to be this organized. This is impossible." Malik's eyes remained cold and focused. She had no need to shout orders, the crew knew exactly what to do. Humanity had turned their suffering into strategy, their pain into precision, their survival instinct into a weapon stronger than any technology. Amid the chaos, a single human stealth vessel slipped past the Obsidian Guard's perimeter. It carried a payload unlike anything the Zerati had ever seen, an EMP cascade designed to disable the advanced ships in one strike. The ship reached the heart of the fleet, fired the cascade, and instantly, the Obsidian Guard began to falter. Engines died. Weapons went silent. Shields flickered and failed. Malik saw the opportunity. Full assault. Push them to the edge. Leave nothing to chance. The human fleet surged forward like a tidal wave, engulfing the Obsidian Guard before they could recover. Explosions lit up the void, painting the battlefield in brilliant red and white fire. For the first time, Vrax felt true fear. His fleet was crumbling, his legends were being destroyed, and the humans, they were unstoppable. The screams, the chaos, the fire, everything the Zerati had once inflicted on humanity was now reflected back on them, magnified by centuries of strategy and vengeance. Even as the battle ended, the humans did not pause. They swept through the remaining sectors, liberating occupied worlds, rescuing prisoners, and dismantling orbital fortresses. Humanity's revenge was not random, it was deliberate, precise, and terrifying. The Zerati Empire that had mocked them, humiliated them, and broadcast their suffering was falling apart, piece by piece. As the dust of the battlefield settled, Malik stood at the bridge, gazing at the remnants of the Shadow Fleet. Her voice was calm, almost serene. "Let this be a lesson. Never humiliate, never underestimate, never believe humans are broken. We adapt. We survive. And we never forget." The crew watched in silence, the magnitude of their victory sinking in. But Malik knew the war was not over. Somewhere, in the darkest corners of the galaxy, the remaining Zerati would regroup. They would plan. They would strike back. And humanity would be ready. For the first time, across the galaxy, a name began to echo: Earth does not forgive. Earth does not forget. And Earth never fails. Malik whispered to herself, staring at the stars ahead, "We have shown them what suffering creates. And this is only the beginning of their lesson." The Zerati were on the brink of collapse. Entire fleets had been destroyed, their legendary Obsidian Guard shattered, and their empire was crumbling faster than anyone could have imagined. Yet, deep in the shadows of the galaxy, the surviving leaders plotted their final gamble. They had underestimated humanity once, and now they believed desperation might save them. On Earth, Admiral Malik studied the galaxy map in silence. Red marks indicated remaining Zerati fleets, scattered but still dangerous. Blue marks, human forces, were positioned to strike with precision. "They think hiding will save them," Malik said softly, eyes narrowing. "They are about to learn that hiding only makes their end easier to find." Lieutenant Rian leaned forward. "Admiral, intelligence reports indicate one system remains untouched. It's massive. A fortress world, heavily defended, with weapons we've never seen. The Zerati call it the Heart of Darkness." Malik's jaw tightened. "That is where it ends. All roads lead there. Prepare the fleet. We do not leave until the heart is ours, and every last trace of their arrogance is erased." The journey to the Heart of Darkness was tense. Human ships moved through contested space, avoiding traps, ambushes, and mines. Every jump point was scanned, every route calculated. The Zerati, though cornered, still tried to defend their final stronghold. But they had learned one thing too late. Humans were relentless, adaptable, and united. When they arrived, the heart of darkness revealed itself. Massive orbital fortresses surrounded the planet, bristling with weapons and shields. Clouds of fighters swarmed the area, and energy beams lit the void like deadly lightning. The scale was intimidating. Even seasoned officers hesitated for a moment, awed by the sheer power amassed against them. Malik did not hesitate. All units, standard assault formation. Precision strikes first. Disable their weapons, then target command centers. We do this efficiently, no unnecessary losses. Every strike must count. The battle erupted instantly. Human ships surged forward, dodging energy blasts, and striking weak points with surgical precision. Stealth frigates slipped past the outer defenses, planting charges that tore through shield generators. Heavy cruisers unleashed volleys of missiles and plasma beams, cutting through enemy formations with terrifying accuracy. The Zerati were stunned. Impossible! Vrax screamed, watching his strongest defenses crumble. We had centuries to prepare. How can they be this perfect? The answer was simple. Humanity had adapted. They had suffered, they had lost, they had been mocked, and now every lesson, every memory of pain, had been forged into their strategy. They did not fight blindly, they fought with the knowledge that the galaxy had seen their suffering, and now the galaxy would witness their vengeance. Inside the heart of darkness, the Zerati leaders panicked. Commands were shouted, orders repeated, but every plan failed. Human forces moved faster than their sensors could track. Every orbital weapon that fired was disabled before it could strike. Every fleet that attempted to retreat was intercepted. Malik's flagship led the final assault. The EMP cascade that had destroyed the Obsidian Guard was deployed again, this time across the entire fortress network. Shields collapsed. Weapons went dark. Communications failed. The Zerati could only watch as their empire, their power, and their pride disintegrated in minutes. Lieutenant Rian's voice was tense but steady. Admiral, the planetary defenses are down. Core systems are exposed. We can strike now. Malik nodded. Do it. Precision. Speed. End this. The final strike hit the planet's core command center. Explosions rippled across the surface, and the heart of darkness began to crumble. The Zerati fleet was annihilated, the remaining leaders captured, and the fortress world was reduced to silence. The galaxy had witnessed the end of a once mighty empire. But as Malik watched, she realized something strange. Sensors detected a signal, weak but persistent, coming from deep inside the planet. A message, she whispered. From the Zerati? The signal was cryptic, fragmented, but the meaning was clear, a warning. Another force, unknown, had observed everything. Humanity's revenge had been perfect, but they were not alone in the galaxy. Someone, or something, had been watching. Malik's eyes hardened. We have won today, she said, voice calm, but eyes sharp. But the galaxy is larger than we know. Someone else will see this. Someone else will challenge humanity. And we will be ready. The crew on the bridge nodded silently. They had achieved the impossible, erased a galactic empire, and restored humanity's honor. Yet, the unknown signal reminded them that the war for survival was never truly over. The galaxy was full of dangers, and humanity had only just begun to assert its place among the stars. Malik looked out at the stars, calm but resolute. We have shown the universe what humans are capable of. But we do not stop here. The galaxy will remember this day, and they will remember Earth. The galaxy had witnessed humanity's revenge, and yet, the calm after the storm was short-lived. The Zerati were gone, their empire shattered, their fleets destroyed, and their arrogance erased. But the signal detected at the heart of darkness had grown stronger. Someone, or something, was watching, and it was coming closer. On the bridge of the Vigilant, Admiral Malik studied the sensor readings. The anomaly was massive, unlike anything humans had encountered before. It was not a fleet. It was a single vessel, or maybe a station, far larger than any human or Zerati ship, cloaked in darkness, moving silently toward the outer sectors. Lieutenant Rian's voice trembled slightly. "Admiral, it's enormous. The readings suggest energy output beyond anything in known space. We can't tell what it is, or how fast it's moving." Malik's eyes narrowed. "It doesn't matter what it is. Humanity has survived worse. We adapt. We fight. We prevail. Prepare all ships for full combat readiness. And get me every fleet in the nearby systems. We face this together." As the humans prepared, the unknown force entered the systems near the heart of darkness. Its presence was overwhelming. Sensors failed intermittently, and communications were disrupted. Ships that tried to get close reported strange energy pulses that caused systems to malfunction. The humans realized that this was no ordinary enemy. It was something entirely new, beyond anything the galaxy had known. The Zerati signals had been cruel, brutal, but predictable. This was alien in ways no one could have imagined. The unknown force radiated power, strategy, and intelligence unlike anything humans had faced before. It was calm, calculating, and watching. Malik addressed her fleet over comms. "Listen carefully. The Zerati are gone. We have won their war. But this is not their doing. Stay focused. Use all resources. Sensors, weapons, every strategy we know. And remember, humans do not retreat. We do not surrender. We do not fear." The fleet moved cautiously, approaching the massive anomaly. When it finally became visible, it was unlike any vessel they had seen. Its hull shimmered with strange energy, its shape almost organic, yet mechanical, twisting and morphing in ways that defied physics. It radiated a cold intelligence, a warning that humanity was not ready for what lay ahead. Suddenly, the vessel emitted a pulse of energy that cascaded through space. Human ships shuddered, shields flickering, engines straining. One by one, smaller vessels lost power, drifting helplessly as if time itself had slowed. Panic threatened the fleet, but Malik's voice cut through the fear. "Focus. Remember who we are. Humans survive. Humans fight. Humans adapt." Human engineers scrambled to restore power, and the fleet slowly regained control. The pulse had been a test, a demonstration of strength. Whatever this entity was, it was assessing them, measuring them. And now it moved closer, cutting off escape routes, surrounding the humans with an invisible barrier of power. Malik clenched her fists. "They are smart. Very smart. But they don't know humans. We have endured centuries of suffering. We have risen from death, defeat, and humiliation. And we will not fall now." The unknown vessel responded, not with weapons, but with a signal. A strange projection appeared above the Vigilant, a form humanoid yet impossible, speaking in a language no human had ever heard. The meaning was clear without translation, a challenge. Humanity had proven itself to the Zerati, but this would be their true test. Malik stared at the projection, unshaken. "We are ready," she said quietly. "This is what humanity was built for. We endure. We adapt. And we fight back. No one, no force, will ever break us." Around her, the crew felt a renewed determination. The Zerati had tested them, humiliated them, and humanity had risen. Now, the galaxy's true test was here. And humans would face it, not as victims, but as warriors forged by suffering and vengeance. As the mysterious vessel moved closer, cloaked in shadows and power, Malik whispered to herself, eyes blazing. "We have survived the impossible before. And we will survive it again. Humanity does not fear. Humanity does not fail. Humanity will endure." The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath as the unknown force prepared to strike. The final battle, for survival, for dominance, for the legacy of Earth, was about to begin. The galaxy seemed to hold its breath. Humanity had defeated the Zerati, erased their empire, and reclaimed its honor. But now, the unknown force hovered in the void, massive, silent, and filled with a presence that radiated power beyond imagination. Admiral Malik stared at the anomaly, her eyes sharp, her mind focused. This was the ultimate test. "Fleet status," Malik commanded. Lieutenant Rian answered quickly, tension in his voice. "Shields stable, weapons ready, engines at full. But it's enormous. I don't know if we can withstand its firepower." Malik's lips pressed into a thin line. "We survive because we are human. Not because we have the biggest ships, the strongest weapons, or the fastest engines. But because we adapt, endure, and fight when all odds are against us. Prepare for battle. This is what we were meant to face." The unknown vessel began to move, sending pulses through space that made the fleet shudder. Smaller ships flickered, some systems overloaded. But humanity did not panic. They had faced impossible odds before. They had survived the Zarati, and now they would survive this. Malik's flagship, the Vigilant, led the assault. Human ships moved with precision, weaving between energy blasts that could destroy entire cruisers. Engineers rerouted power, weapons fired in perfect coordination, and fleets moved like a living organism, each vessel anticipating the next. The unknown force responded with brutal intelligence. Energy beams struck at exact angles, weapons adapted to human tactics, and the vessel seemed almost alive, learning with every second. But Malik had anticipated this. Humanity had survived by thinking beyond brute force. They adapted, and now they fought smarter. Small stealth ships slipped past the main defenses, infiltrating weak points, planting charges designed to disrupt the massive vessel's energy matrix. Fighters darted in and out, drawing attention, while heavy cruisers focused fire on the areas weakened by stealth strikes. Every attack was coordinated, deliberate, and unrelenting. The alien vessel pulsed again, this time sending a psychic signal that rippled through the minds of the human crew. It was a test, an attempt to intimidate, but Malik's resolve never wavered. "Focus," she shouted. "We do not fear. Humanity survives. Humanity fights. Humanity wins." The fleet responded with renewed precision. The stealth team detonated their charges, sending energy surges that crippled key systems on the alien vessel. Weapons flickered, shields faltered, and for the first time, the unknown force hesitated. Malik seized the moment. "All units, combine fire. Target the core. Push everything we have into this strike." Energy beams, missiles, and plasma fire converged on the vessel's heart. Explosions lit the void like a supernova. The vessel screamed in energy pulses, shifting, twisting, but it could not escape the combined human assault. Slowly, steadily, it began to collapse under the relentless pressure. The fleet watched as the massive vessel's core imploded, sending shockwaves through the surrounding space. The unknown force, a threat beyond imagination, was reduced to fragments drifting through the void. Humanity had survived. Humanity had triumphed. On the bridge of the Vigilant, Malik exhaled slowly. She did not smile, but her eyes reflected the stars, bright and fierce. "This is humanity," she said softly. "We endure. We survive. We rise. And no force in the galaxy will ever break us." Across the galaxy, signals from liberated worlds confirmed the victory. Humanity's fleets returned, battered but unbowed. Colonies celebrated quietly, knowing their suffering had been avenged. The Zarati were gone, the unknown force defeated, and humanity's place among the stars was secured. Not through fear, not through oppression, but through courage, intelligence, and unyielding resolve. Even in the aftermath, humanity did not boast. They rebuilt, prepared, and adapted, aware that the galaxy was vast and unknown forces still lurked in the shadows. But one truth had been written across every star system: humans could not be humiliated, could not be underestimated, and could not be defeated. Admiral Malik stood on the bridge, staring out at the stars stretching endlessly before them. She knew challenges would come again, that the galaxy was full of unknown dangers, and that humanity's journey was just beginning. Yet in that moment, the stars themselves seemed to recognize a new truth. Earth had risen, humanity had conquered, and the galaxy would remember their name. "Prepare the fleet for return," Malik said quietly, her voice calm but commanding. "We have won today. But we keep moving forward. Humanity survives. Humanity thrives. Humanity endures." The crew nodded, a quiet sense of pride settling over them. The galaxy had seen the human spirit tested, stretched, and tempered in the fires of war. And now, every world, every species, every corner of the stars knew the same truth. Never humiliate humanity. Never underestimate humanity. And never broadcast their suffering. Because when humans rise, the entire galaxy pays the price.